Good morning, afternoon, evening to our attendees. I hope you guys enjoyed the keynote session. I'm going to wait a few seconds for everyone to join. Great, it looks like people are trickling in. We have a quorum. I'm Rebecca Bluin. I am the Senior Director of Product Marketing for our Embedded Business Unit, and I'll be moderating this track today for software product leaders. And so before we get started, I want to invite you guys to drop questions. You will see on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a Q&A tab. I invite people to drop questions in throughout the presentations, and provided we have time, Sammy will address them from the audience. And on that note, I'm very excited to welcome Sammy Hero, who is CEO of Ellie.ai. He is they are a very valued embedded cloud customer. I will warn, Sammy is coming to us live from London, and the hotel has some shoddy Wi-Fi, so we are hopeful that it will behave itself for the duration of this presentation, but bear with him if it doesn't. Sammy is going to be discussing bringing data modeling to the masses with embedded connectivity. We're excited for him to cover this. So Sammy, before we begin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you'll be talking about in the session?
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca, and happy to be here. And we had some very exciting times trying to find a decent Wi-Fi in this hotel room near Olympia in London, where there's a big Data London event happening right now. Yeah, so I've been in database business since late 80s, and in data warehousing from in 98, I joined a startup doing ETL tools, so I'm aging myself a little bit, but it's very exciting to be talking about modeling, because it has been, as a practice, it's been around since forever, but only lately we've been able to create tools that will really enable also business users, not just the technical users, to be able to participate in the exercise. And let's see if I can click the slides. Yep. So what we'll do talk about today is we'll talk a little bit about the just overall what's going on with the data product related projects and why they succeed or don't. And then we'll talk a little bit about how AI and connectivity together can help us come up with better outcomes, and then finally what the key elements for successful projects are. And then if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about a couple of use cases specific to industries. How does that sound, Rebecca?
That sounds fantastic. Sammy, are you able to turn on your video, or are we getting as good as we get?
Crazily enough, I am showing my own, I can see my video, so I do not know why my video wouldn't show.
We are seeing a black screen, but we will make do. So just to start us out, let's start at the highest level, Sammy. Why do so many data product initiatives fall short, and how does Ellie help change that outcome?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the data product related projects fail to meet expectations or completely fail. You know, sometimes we spend millions of dollars and we don't get the outcome we hope. And Gartner has been looking into this, and other analyst firms for quite a while. And it may sound a lot like motherhood and apple pie, but there are a few key elements that lead to it. And one of the biggest ones, obviously, is the unclear business objectives. You know, we don't quite understand when the business says we want something, how that translates into the IT speak, and then we set to deliver something. The second part, which actually CData is helping us tremendously address, is the data quality and availability. You know, we all want to be data driven, but we don't always know what that exactly means. Where is the data we need? You know, what does it mean? What's in it? What does the metadata tell us, and so forth. And then one of the biggest things we see in this collaboration between IT and business is the lack thereof. We often end up in situations where we kind of get lost in translation. You know, the business people want return on promotional investment calculation from data lakehouse or something like that, and then the IT people are like, "Yep, we'll go build it," and they come back and it's not exactly what the CMO wanted. and then we'll end up redoing a lot, which again leads into this whole concept of failing to meet the expectations. And then finally, it's the maturity just overall in the organizations and the data ownership that needs to have more clarity. And this plays also into the data governance part, but it's something that we definitely shouldn't overlook.
Great.
I'm gonna toggle my camera just in case. Can you see my video
see
now
you.
by any chance?
You're magically here. Good.
Yeah.
London's behaving
Okay.
itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. You just need to toggle sometimes things on and off, I guess. There was a time when you had to actually drop the laptop or the computer a little bit on the table to get it going again. But yeah, so Ellie has been on this mission of making data modeling more accessible for all kinds of different users. So our view is that the key success factor is to create this common understanding between the technical stakeholders as well as the business people, and oftentimes we have a kind of like two ways of addressing it. We need to get the raw data and access to the various systems that we have, where CData is enabling us to connect to 160 plus systems, so we can reverse engineer existing systems, whether it's legacy or even modern nowadays with Snowflake or Databricks and so forth. And then on the other side, we are engaging with the business people, where we're talking about semantic and conceptual modeling and having discussions on what is a customer, what is a product, and so forth, and getting clarity on that in a way that we both get to this common understanding, and very much focusing on the business outcome that we're working on. So it's kind of like bringing the technical and the business views together, and then of course AI can be tremendously helpful for us along the way.
Fantastic. Can you walk us through a typical modeling workflow using Ellie?
What it might look like.
Go ahead. Sorry, Sammy.
Can you, Rebecca? Yeah, I actually, for some reason, I can't advance the slide. Do you mind advancing the slide?
Nope. We're on the 3 easy steps to models, so we are good, and I will advance the slides from here.
Yep. Yeah, fabulous. So thank you. For some reason, it wouldn't click on my my laptop. Yeah, it is, and I like everything in threes. So even though I have 4 children. But 3 steps essentially to build these models is that what we usually do is we almost never we're almost never able to start from scratch. We always have something that we need to connect to. There's always some existing data warehouse or some sort of a system we need to connect. So essentially, our 3 steps is that we use the CData Embedded Cloud to connect into the existing system. We retrieve the metadata from there. And then we use AI to enrich and augment that metadata and turn it into something that people can understand. Like imagine having attributes like C_ADDR. So our AI will explain that is actually the customer address and so forth. And then the second step is usually that we chat with Ellie, and then we essentially pick up the assets that we want to work on. So we can use plain English. It's like, okay, I need to calculate customer profitability. So what do I need? And then we will propose, or the AI will propose to you a number of tables and assets that you might want to use, and then explains also why. And then finally, we create some level of models, and then we start collaborating with the business around it, and so that we can build a better final data product. And then if we look more details, because I figured now actually in hindsight, it was good to do the slides instead of a live demo, because I love to live dangerously, but that would have been too scary. So essentially, this is just we'll just walk quickly through how it works. So essentially, with Ellie, we create a connection. We pick the connection type. One of the 160 I played with. Our internal HubSpot and connecting it to Google Analytics and other data sources. But if it's a database, for instance, in this case, then we pick up the schema, and then CData Embedded Cloud will start giving us the metadata that we work. And then what happens is that if you advance, so as we bring in the metadata, we have two default ways of bringing the metadata and enriching it. So one approach is that we only look at the headers. So we only look at the names of the tables and names of the columns or attributes, and then we use AI to generate metadata from it. Now that's one way of doing it. The better way of doing it is that we actually pull 100 to 1,000 rows of data from these tables, and then we can truly look into the content and context of that particular data element, and we can create this enriched content, which is we essentially create new descriptions for everything, as well as we cluster attributes from the tables so that we can start modeling around similar concepts, like if something is an address or something is like related to production or logistics or something else, we might want to create conceptual entities out of those clusters. And then what we do is that obviously AI is not infallible. So what we do next is that we tend to look into the synthetic metadata, if it makes sense or not. It's a little bit small, but you can see a little blue tag next to the text elements. A little couple of stars, I think, is actually the icon. That tells that that was AI generated. So once we look at it, if we touch it and we start making some edits, it will take out the little icon, and that tells us that a human has validated the generated content. So sometimes it might be that the wording it just isn't right, or something else happened, and we want to correct it a little bit, or we want to bring in metadata from Calibra or Purview or some governance tool as well. Now, once we have this, we start working with our AI bot, which we actually just named a couple of days ago into Lumi, L-U-M-I, which stands for snow in Finnish. And then with the bot, we can essentially chat with it and ask it questions. It's like, help me with something that data elements that have to do with a customer. The AI will use the entire model and all the metadata that we have as a context, and we'll try to figure out is like what are the most relevant data assets that we could propose, whether it's specific tables and so forth, whichever source they come from, and then we give it a couple of tags, and then the user can refine it, or can say essentially tell the AI to throw those assets into a canvas, and then we can continue the modeling effort from there. So you can do as little or as much of the chatting at this point. And then what happens is that you can also chat when you have an existing model. So this is particularly useful when you have more business users involved, is that then you have more people with the different diverse backgrounds are involved in the modeling exercise. We can also talk to the AI in the context of an existing model. So we can say, help me improve this model, or propose some new relationships into this model, or explain me this model, which happens quite often when we have situations where the data architect or information architects have built models with the business, but then we have completely novice modelers who are using it as a reference point. They come as a read-only into the tool, and they're kind of wondering, it's like, what's going on here? They can ask AI, is like, explain me this model, or explain me what happens between manufacturing and distribution, for instance, and it will explain all the entities and relationships between those 2 points. So it's something that is super helpful in terms of using it. And in addition to that, so as we are doing, so a lot of these things you saw before, somebody might say, it's like, well, it's a single person could do all that work. So what about this collaboration stuff? The collaboration is super important. And it's not just being able to view it, but you can also obviously make some changes. You can make edits and so forth. But there's also additional things like asking questions, leaving comments. We have a specific license type as well, which is called contributor. So that's something that it's like usually used for business users who want to participate, but we don't quite want to give them a full right access to all the models. So they can come in and ask questions and clarifications on whether it's an entity or it's some attribute within an entity. And then the people who own those particular models and entities or assets, they can go and answer them as they get email notifications for the questions. So that helps this kind of asynchronous collaboration, because a lot of time we deal with organizations who are very much distributed around the world. So sometimes we have a central team might be somewhere in Europe, but then all the business users are all around. And even within Europe, as you know, it's not a singular place, so a bunch of different languages and so forth and different locations. So in many cases, we see distributed organizations with the distributed modeling teams, usually both in US and Europe when it's a multinational corporation.
Great.
And then,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying. And then what we do when we're kind of focusing on that, I'm trying to browse through this very quickly, so we'll have some time for questions. But yeah, so these are kind of the typical steps about. Okay, there's a good question coming in, so I'll address it in a second. So when you look at the overall process, so it is really, really critical that we have essentially an easy access to whether it's the old systems or the new systems. Like I said before, is that that we almost never start from scratch. You know, there are some rare occasions that we've seen people start completely from scratch, but not very often. So this is something that is super critical. Having a good understanding of the source systems, the data that's coming in, having the ability to look into the data, having the AI enrich the metadata, that saves tremendous amount of time for the data analyst and business analysts, just kind of doing the figuring out things. And then we've seen some crazy situation even with modern data lake houses recently, where having 15,000 tables in Snowflake isn't terribly helpful when you start figuring out is like, what can I build out of this? Then the second part is this collaboration. So that is something that that initially it might slow down a little bit in the beginning of the project, but at the end of the project it will completely eliminate the rework, and it will definitely deliver the output at the end faster than it would have if we didn't do this work up front. So start a little slower and finish faster. So it's I guess there are some animal stories about I think the hare and the turtle. And then the third part, which is just more general to the modeling as well, is that the models. More people are talking today about data modeling as kind of a not a new practice, but practice that is having a little bit of a renaissance, and more people are talking about it. But we believe very strongly that the models need to follow 3 specific laws. If you're a friend of Isaac Asimov, you know what the 3 laws of robotics were. But our laws of modeling is that the models must be easy to understand, they must reflect reality, and they have to scale with the business. Particularly the scaling is that the models are not a monolithic thing that you do once and then it's kind of digital concrete. You do it once and then you forget about it, and then these things, the data products start having their own life. The business today is changing, and the business environment is changing so rapidly that that you absolutely have to be able to evolve over time. The political situation changes pretty much daily nowadays. The competitive situation for our customers particularly changes quite a bit between mergers and acquisitions, and changes in the world situation just globally. I don't want to get too political about this, but life gets pretty interesting in the mornings when I wake up and check the news. But yeah, so that's essentially those are the really important things that we tend to do and say to our customers, and where we see more success than the others. And then just to talk a little bit about the types of organizations that we deal with most, and then we'll attack a couple of questions that are popping in already. Where we see a lot of success right now is particularly in telecommunications. So telco is an area where Especially in Europe, the competition is absolutely ridiculous. So we have so many operators. From a consumer perspective, you change your operator at least annually, and you always get crazy good prices. But usually they have the big operators we have. They model their global picture, then they have B2B, B2C, and then their distribution partnership type of businesses. And then each country has their own models, which are essentially inherited from the top and expanded along the way. So when a company, like one large Swiss operator, when they bought a business in Italy from one of their competitors, they had a very clear model on how they wanted the acquired company to start operating on. So it was super easy to integrate the businesses. The other area is which is very data rich and operates very heavily on data is the financial services. So banks and insurance companies. We see a lot of similarities in Europe and North America. And there are some great practices on building data products, like real products, like having product owners, having data ops, managing the products as they are done, and so forth. So this is super interesting to see what these types of companies are doing. And then I think the last on the list, which is probably also very, very interesting, is complex manufacturing. So a lot of the companies we deal with, whether they do chemicals or electronics or medical devices or essentially anything, it is very important for them to have both kind of global and corporate control over certain things, but also flexibility to work with business units as well as the various countries. Because if you do just a command and control from the center, then usually those things don't work too well. So this is a good compromise. But let's attack maybe a couple of the questions.
Sounds good.
There's have a vendor MS SQL DB, and there's a very long and very detailed DB schema. Yeah, so this is one of the reasons why we use this, what we call a source navigator that you saw earlier. When we read in the full schema, it might have thousands of tables. That's why we end up reading it into this. You can navigate it through a tree, but you can also do search, and then you can use AI around it. So this is to mitigate dealing with very complex schemas, because if you have 1,000 tables or more to source, SAP has like 340,000 tables, I think, in a couple of the core systems. So you need to have a way of dealing with it in chunks, and then you want to probably do your modeling with a domain-based modeling. So you break them into smaller pieces. You don't try to build like big monolithic system. You do smaller pieces. The entities connect to each other, and eventually you will have a kind of a very large data model, but you deal with it in the smaller parts. And then about the unstructured sorry.
Yeah, I think we have time for one more. Yep. Unstructured, semi-structured.
Okay, so the last one is that. Yeah, we typically, like when we reverse engineer it, it's actually CData structures is for us, but because we do this conceptual modeling to start, so we can model it in a sense very much like ontology. You could, depending on what you need to do, but you can start the modeling exercise regardless what the final output is. But most of the use cases we have is relational in nature, because it ends up being in some sort of an analytical data product usually.
Excellent. Well, Sammy, thank you so much.
And if you have any other questions, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm super happy. Or if you're in London, come see us tomorrow at the booth.
Yep, big day to London. Well, Sammy, thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the show, and enjoy the rest of London. Thanks all.
Thank you so much.